had a really bad experience on a construction site.
And do you feel entrepreneurship and starting your business has been one of the bravest things you've ever done?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably the bravest thing I've ever done. That reminds me, one of the things that I had to overcome was my fear of failure. People can mentor you and give you the bigger picture and say, oh, failure is feedback. You're like, feedback to my personal value though. Like, are you serious? This shouldn't be this hard. Like, why is it that I'm so stressed? Because I don't think people appreciate how much other stuff you have to overcome and battle in order to even just do that. Because you have to fail every day if you're a business owner.
Hello and welcome to the Real Biz Life Chronicles, where we discuss all things business, branding and life from the Horizon Digital podcast recording studio here in Perth. I'm Tracy Fryer, your host. Now, if you do enjoy this episode, we ask that you please like and subscribe to our channels below, or please share it with a fellow business owner who is in the trenches doing one of the hardest things in the world, building a business. Today's guest is tackling one of the biggest challenges in the engineering and construction industry, bridging the gap between experience and emerging talent. With over 40% of the workforce set to retire in the next 15 years, the need for knowledge transfer has never been greater. That's where Buteros steps in, turning retiring experts into invaluable mentors, ensuring smoother career transitions and raising the standards of technical excellence. At the helm is Rachel Bermoy, founder and managing director of Buteros, knowing her passion, determination and dedication. Rachel's leadership journey started early as a school prefect and soccer team captain, setting the stage for a career built on helping others perform at their best. Today, she's on a mission to reshape the future of engineering, one mentor at a time. Now, I asked someone close to Rachel if there was a song that would play every time Rachel entered the room. She said it would definitely be Girl on Fire. And the reason for this is, she said that if you spend 5 minutes with Rachel, you will get to know why. And I know I can attest to that. This incredible woman has so much passion and drive. And from the first time I met her, I have been so inspired by her. And that is why she's on the show today. Rachel Bermoy, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I am chuffed.
I'm looking forward to our chat today. It's been a bit of a haphazard start on my part, but we got there.
Oh, I'm loving it already.
Great. Rach, I'd love to know, what made you start your business?
I had a really bad experience on a construction site, which already notoriously has not very women in the industry. I think it's like 1% to 2%, but I haven't checked the recent stats. And I think for me, it was experiencing the fact that I was driven to want to do a good job. I knew that I was getting paid a significant pay packet to deliver on that job, but there's a lot of things that I didn't know. So I think I was quite naive going into that role because I looked at the fact that I had a mortgage. So I had personal goals for my pay packet, but I didn't all do. Right? And so I was like, okay, construction, you're doing like roughly a 10-hour day. I want $1 more an hour from my previous job. Yeah. And I accounted for the extra 2 hours and it equated to this pay packet, but I didn't know what title and responsibilities that would give me. So I got thrown in the deep end. And at the same time, I was listening to my dad process and contemplate retirement. And being an Indian man, I think also maybe a generational thing. A lot of your identity is in your work and what you've dedicated your career to. So understanding and comprehending, what am I going to do with all of this extra time unless you've pre-planned your trip around Australia and got your loan sorted for your caravan or whatever. So I saw a very immediate need to help both transition phases because honestly, I would call him up for some things and be like, I don't know what this specification is saying. I don't understand, this problem's on site. So I think something to point out in the engineering field is that you might go out with a degree. For me, it was civil construction, but you're still interfacing with mechanical disciplines, electrical disciplines, and you don't really know much about what they do. So I learned how important it was to talk to people of other disciplines to improve your deliverables of work, I guess.
And do you feel that was a defining moment when you decided to start your own business?
Yeah, I remember the car ride. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Walk us through.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I was doing 12 to 14-hour days door to door at the peak of this project. I think it was valued at maybe like 8.6 million. I can't remember. I had bad memories from that time. And I was driving through peak hour traffic. So in construction, what happens is you usually have a 6:30 a.m. pre-start. In winter, they usually push it a little bit to give people extra sleep-ins.
Nice.
But Coburn to Woodvale was where the job was. So I'd leave the house 5:30, 5:40 in the morning, get there, and then 6:30 till about 5:30 is when I'd leave. So you did your 10-hour day, but going through city traffic in Perth, and I had a lot of thinking time.
Of course, as you do.
And I'm thinking, this shouldn't be this hard. Like, why is it that I'm so stressed? Like, this is not good for retention planning for the company. I don't really want to stay here if this is what I have to deal with. Just the job alone was stressful, not to mention all of the other kerfuffles of sexual harassment or like perceived uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
Male-dominated industries
Very
being
much.
highly testosterone-y. So I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm very sensitive to my environment. So I was getting drained every day.
Yeah.
And so stuck in traffic, and it was like everything went still. It was like everything went still, and it was like a pin drop from heaven almost. And I was like, why are you not connecting retired people to people like yourself to help you, you know, buffer and get more support?
Yeah.
And it was then that my brain just went on hyperdrive.
Yeah, I'm goosebumping.
Really? Oh, yeah. Because even when I think about it, I goosebumps.
Yeah.
And it was like all of these disconnected puzzle pieces of my career, things that I couldn't quite make sense of and never really felt I was, never felt like I was ever satisfied in one area. All of these different puzzle pieces of experiences finally came together in that moment. Love delivering workshops. Okay, this is learning and development now. Oh, it makes sense. I love helping people and love elevating their experience of the construction or engineering industry. I actually really love the industry. In a way, sometimes I miss it.
Yeah.
I'm not practicing as an engineer every day. And it made sense that, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then immediately afterwards, I was like, nah, nobody would want this. It's just a me thing. Can you imagine that? Just having this epic idea and then being like, it's probably just a me thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been there before.
Yeah. And then, brought it to my now husband, who was my boyfriend at the time. I was like, I had this idea in the car, but I don't know if it's a good idea. And he's like, no, you need to do it. And he's a land surveyor, so still in the industry and deals with engineers. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And Rachel, so you studied to be an engineer?
Yeah.
Yeah. What made you go into that? Because again, it's quite a male dominant industry, and I love the fact that you've done that.
Yeah, good question. I think partly environmental. So my dad, as I've mentioned before, is an engineer, mechanical. So I'd say it's part conditioning.
Or genetics.
Or genetics, perhaps. Yeah, I remember stories of my childhood where, you know, randomly dad would be doing some work in the kitchen or something and be like, oh, you know, if there was two aluminium cans, one that's black and one that's silver, which one would heat up faster? So I've always been like taught to or trained to think in a very scientific way, I believe.
Great.
When I got to about year 10, I think it was sick, so I was at home watching a documentary, Mega Constructions, and I saw a project in Dubai and I thought, holy moly, that is so cool. I want to be part of something like that. It looked like a team sport.
Yeah.
All these different disciplines, and as you know, like I've played soccer my whole life.
Yes.
I love team sports, and I was very committed from that point to do engineering. And I also thought it was a good way to help people. Oftentimes we have to talk about what our why is.
Yes.
Maybe for other people, they get driven by having a task and seeing it come to life. For me, it's like, okay, how can I help people the most?
Yes.
So at my age year 10 self, it was through engineering.
And has that always been kind of at the centre of what you know, helping people? Has it always been at the centre of what you want to do?
I think so. I've grown to learn so.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Rach, what did you want to be growing up? Was it always an engineer, or was it kind of okay?
No. I was so set on being Jessamine from Bend It Like Beckham.
Oh, right.
I love soccer.
Love that.
Yeah,
Nice.
I wanted to be a professional soccer player.
Oh,
yeah.
cool. Do you still play?
No, because I am actually pregnant
Yes,
right now.
congratulations, of course.
I did play one game pregnant, not knowing I had a bit of a fall. It was quite hilarious, actually.
No.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, I play more social now.
Great.
I think I last played competitively at uni for Curtin University. That was so fun. Yeah.
And do you feel entrepreneurship and starting your business has been one of the bravest things you've ever done, or is there something else you'd like to share there?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably the bravest thing I've ever done. Yeah, because I don't think people appreciate how much other stuff you have to overcome and battle in order to even just do that.
Completely.
Like people say, oh, wow, like you started a business. I'm like, yeah, I have. I have started a business. But then there's so much other stuff you have to get right, like, okay, how you see yourself.
Totally.
Like,
yes.
I don't know if you've experienced that, but
100,000,000%.
the self-doubt.
Totally. There's so many different, I want to say facets that it exposes that I completely never had any clue it was going to. And I heard this great thing the other day. They were speaking about imposter syndrome. You know, we feel like an imposter, but what at the, I think it was Eddie Pinero, like I binge his stuff with Jim. He does like motivation when I'm trying to do weights, and he's like, you know, push yourself and all that stuff. But what he said is it's good that you feel like an imposter because it shows that you outside your comfort zone, so it's natural to feel that way, but it shows that growth is just on the other side because you are that imposter, but you're working through that. So I just thought that was a nice way to kind of view it, because I think we sometimes view imposter syndrome as a negative, but it's actually a positive, showing us that we're actually pushing ourselves and that we're growing.
I agree. I would say that stepping outside of my comfort zone was probably absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
In terms of the word syndrome, I don't feel like it should be called a syndrome. No. But then what makes you qualified to start a business? I guess that's the real question.
Yeah, that's a great question.
To be fair, I've learned and I've had to accept that, well, I'm the one that got the idea. I'm the one that sees the big vision.
Yeah.
And I'm super motivated by personal experience to prevent that to happening from other people. And I have a unique perspective, one of which is the fact that I've got Indian culture. When my family migrated, I was the first born Australian culturally in my family. So my brother and sister are 10 and 7 years older than me.
Okay.
They were born in India. And so for me, you had this cultural divide in the house. You had school, which was completely Western. People could speak up and have chats with their parents. You come home and it's like Indian, ethnic. Yeah. So I've had to learn the best balance of what Eastern ethnic culture can bring to the Western culture, what Western culture can bring to there. And that's a unique perspective that I've got. And I think all of those things collectively combined make me qualified. It's not the fact that I know how to do a balance sheet. I've had to learn that through WA leaders. Okay, I've got this idea. Okay, how do I make it work?
Yes. Where's your balance sheet? What do you mean?
What is a profit and loss statement?
Yes, your EBIT. Sorry, what?
Oh, no, add a D in there. Apparently there's a thing for that. I don't know what that means.
Apparently.
But truth be told, the Curtin University civil construction degree was pretty tough.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I came up to difficult projects, even in industry, I was like, if I can get through that, I can get through this.
Yes.
And so every experience, and I'm sure you've felt this way, every experience that you have in your life is a building block for the next experience. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
And Rach, do you believe that everyone can be a business owner, or do you think it's something that you're either born with, or do you think I know you touched on that you've got like different experiences that kind of all come together and that's sort of part of it, or do you think it's, it's passion?
Oh, good question. Again, you're good with these questions.
Thanks.
I think a lot of people have great ideas. I chat to a lot of people now and I tell them what I'm doing. They're like, oh, yeah, I had a similar idea 5 years ago, but I prioritize my family.
Yeah.
So it's not that there's a lack of ideas of business initiatives to serve whatever industry people are exposed to and whatever's in their sphere of influence. I do think what it takes to be a business owner, I don't think it actually is passion, because passion, like, that's a fleeting feeling. There's some days that are really hard.
Oh, yeah.
And you're thinking, what on earth did I give up that really good consistent pay salary for this? So I actually just think it's grit. And determination.
Yeah.
You got to be driven by the big picture, because then you can see that these bad experiences are just little specks in the ocean.
Yeah.
And you got to find, if people want to become business owners, I think that they need to catalogue the really good experiences and then have dedicated times of reflection.
Agreed.
To be like, okay, I did that time and it helped. If that's your motivation, if that's your why, it helped XYZ people. There is benefit to this model. Okay, pocket that experience.
Completely.
And then have it as your reserve fuel for the bad days.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm probably going to be inappropriate right now, but I have what is called my professional wank bank, and I was inspired to start this by my previous business coach, and it's a bit out there, but bear with me.
I'm ready.
On those days where it's really tough and you're thinking, what the hell am I doing? Like, I just step away from whatever it is.
Yeah.
Take 15 minutes and I just go through that. It's just on my phone, like it's screenshots, it's various things, maybe messages people have sent me about their experience with Design Studio Perth. And honestly, just taking that time out to sit in my PWB, that I call it, it just kind of lifts your soul again, because it's, like you said before, we're doing one of the hardest things in the world. And you need those reminders of why you're doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. And not to mention, you do need your people around you, but you can't always rely on them. Like, everyone's got fluctuating emotional capacities and things like that. So I've actually really enjoyed being part of WA Leaders as well, just on a side note, purely for the fact that, you catch up once a month. We've met, we've connected, and you can share in your like holy moly moments, like, what are we doing?
It is great.
It's good. It's tough though, because you start a business knowing that it's like going to make an impact to industry. I actually think the hardest thing is trying to convince people that need to buy your services of your why,
and your value
and the value, to the investing organisation. So that's been a journey. Communications journey, I think. Marketing, branding, all of your area.
I have experienced exactly the same. Whilst branding and marketing is one thing, it's the way that you actually you can communicate that through branding and marketing, but trying to help your potential prospect to realize that they've got a pain point or a problem, because sometimes they don't even know.
No.
And then you're trying to, sell the value and how it will make their life so much easier. But sometimes they can't actually see it. And that's why I'm so passionate about social media and really creating an education platform for your audience where they can get to know, like, and trust you. And really realize that there is certain things that you can do better without it being shoved down their throat when they have that immediate sort of pain point. So,
and have you found that when you've had your business model, because I guess marketing and branding is a well-established industry, differentiating yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's well established, but there's some serious crayon artists out there. Look, I mean, there's lots of graphic designers, there's lots of branding agencies, but that's why, in building a brand, it's actually a tool to really set yourself apart from the rest. So what are your USPs? So for us, it's not just, we're graphic designers and copywriters. We help our clients grow with distinction. Everything that we do is built to help our clients reach those goals. And you have to communicate that through every single channel, because we're bombarded. I think I heard the other day, it's 6,500 to 10,000 different visuals and messages every day. And as Paul likes to tell me, it's always 21 touch points, right? So if you don't know what your messaging is, or you haven't got a logo, or your logo's got 25 different variations and they're all different colors, like, that repetition gets lost in the mind of your prospect. So it's very easy to just get lost in a sea of other graphic designers or branding agencies. So there's a great book, Brand It Like Sirhan, and he really explains how powerful branding is and, you know, how we can interconnect those, our personal brand and our business brand as well.
Wow, that's so cool. Because I was thinking to myself, I get lumped into mentoring. And so I've had a really tough time to explain to industry or people in general the problems that I'm solving for them through a very different delivery style of what people think they know.
Yes.
And so it's not just, I don't actually think there is a business model like Buteros that exists in WA or Australia that I'm aware of.
Yeah, no, I also.
Yeah, like sure. I've done my research and I was thinking, oh, okay, cool. And maybe there'll be more to come once people learn about this model. And I might actually have to, you know, consider that there'll be competition in the future.
Yeah.
But long story short, communicating that when you're still trying to figure out something as well is also quite hilarious.
Yeah, but I think it's also a good point that you've raised is that, you know, sometimes done is better than perfect. And I know when I first started, I was so fixated on having this perfect messaging and perfect everything. But what I've come to realize is that you have something, whether you work with an agency or yourself, you get to a certain point, you outgrow it, and then you change. So nothing's ever permanent. And we've always got that space to have that flexibility as we go and grow.
That reminds me, one of the things that I had to overcome was my fear of failure.
Yes.
Like, thanks for reminding me that.
No problem.
Of that horrendous time in my life where I had to process fear of failure. Because you have to fail every day if you're a business owner. And so when people, again, going back to that point, if people ask you, oh, you run a business, that was one of the things I had to overcome. And I don't know if it's because engineering is a very precise, or you try to be as precise as you can.
Yes.
Depending on the risk level, you know, someone could get really hurt or at worst pass away. So, or if it's the Indian thing where failure is just not really well.
Oh, it must be South African as well. Jeez.
Culture.
So I'm part Greek as well, so heaven help me.
I did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah, from dad's side.
At least you can, you know, express yourself though. I think Greek culture is very expressive.
Very much. We break plates and we scream and carry on, so it's very adventurous.
Love that. Love that.
Rach, how did you overcome your fear of failure, and do you feel you have overcome it?
I say I've mostly overcome it, and if it ever does come up, I've got pretty good measures in place now to be like, you can be there as a visitor in my mind, but you are not a resident.
Yeah, I love that.
I see you, I acknowledge that you're there, but you're not going to take over my mind. It's fine. It'll be okay. So I guess, how did I do it? Ooh. A lot of support and verbal processing and introspection. You have to be able to confront your inner demons.
Oh, 100%.
Therapy as well, just having someone professional to kind of assess your, like, what has happened to make that a factor or a ruling factor in your mind. And then once you unpack it, you're like, oh, okay, well, my value, I think it was related to my value. So I think from memory, I couldn't separate my professional value from my personal value.
I see.
So once I understood that I'm inherently valuable and nothing I can do, whether good or bad, is going to change that, failing in the professional setting didn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just feedback. But people can mentor you and give you the bigger picture and say, oh, you know, failure is feedback. You know, like, feedback to my personal value though. Like, are you serious? But until you, well, for me, created that separation, that's when I was able to start overcoming it.
And Rach, I know you also have a very strong faith. Do you find that helps you along the way?
It's everything. Yeah,
same.
I don't think the idea would have come to me. I do think it was a divine gift from God. I think he really wants to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
And in this particular sphere, it's to restore the honour to a retiring generation, which in Western culture I don't know is overly respected. I do see our culture as very linear.
Yeah.
So once you've hit a certain age, you're considered, really crudely, like redundant.
Of course, you're right. Spot on.
Whereas in, say, Indian culture, you respect your elders. The best thing about Western culture, though, is that a younger person is more encouraged to speak up.
Right.
So I think in this coaching model that I've amalgamated, it's encouraging seniors to pass on wisdom, but juniors to start speaking up, especially because we live in such a diverse state.
Yeah, we do.
Country. And just narrowing it down to the engineering construction field. Sorry if I'm going a bit off topic here.
No, not at all.
We're dealing with a lot of ethnicities in the engineering construction workplace where these things are a factor, and it severely impacted my ability to be a good professional in a male-dominated industry. Respecting men, respecting elders, not speaking up because you don't want to, rock the boat.
Yeah. Snap.
Yes, yeah. It impacts your ability to be a professional.
Yeah.
You're getting paid to do a job, but you're so worried about the negative feedback loop that you don't perform, and then that causes problems. And so having this model is to help if it's ethnic women or cultures who are more passive function in our industry and perform at their peak and get over all of that crap and shine in their intelligence, really.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And Rach, I know we touched on this a bit before the show. What are some potential challenges you've experienced being pregnant?
Oh,
if you're happy to share.
I am happy to share.
And congratulations.
Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, so we're hitting our third trimester now, so it's good. So many challenges. Yeah. I think.
Were you expected or no?
We were planning, but...
No, but the challenges you faced.
Okay.
I know I asked a lot.
I was like, how deep are we going?
No, ahead, don't mind.
Yes and no. Actually... Probably 50-50, maybe 60-40. 60% I didn't expect,
right,
in a way. So I just didn't think I'd get morning sickness. I got wiped out for about 2 months. I was so unwell. Yeah.
Wow. How did you run your business and deal with that?
Well, this is the thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, when I had the idea for the business, I was 26 years old.
Right.
Very young.
Wow.
I was only 4 or 5 years out into the industry.
Gee.
32 now. So It's been a long journey of, okay, how do I take this great idea and convert it into something commercial of value to the industry that helps everybody, where it's a win-win-win-win-win. And then I knew that, well, when it picks up, I eventually want to have a family, or maybe I'll have a family after it picks up.
Yeah.
Whatever. But it didn't pick up in the time frames that I expected, and this is where your faith comes into bit, because you have to trust in God's timing of things, and you're like, oh, all right.
So hard sometimes.
Super hard. And so I was like, okay, well, it is what it is. I'm not going to let a business govern our family planning because I'm putting something outside of my control.
Yeah.
In the driver's seat. And so then part of building a business, knowing your end goals, which I think is so important, to know what your personal goals are, what your personal plans are, and then the big vision for your business, was that I built it to be self-sufficient from the start. And I think civil engineering really trained my brain for foundations. It must just be, make sure your foundations are solid, otherwise your building will crumble.
Yes.
I don't know. So I was thinking, okay, well, how can I build a business model where it's not relying on me and my time? And that was, okay, you have coaches, you have people outside of your skill set.
Yeah.
Being humble enough to know that you can't be everything to everyone. So that was step one, and it's been a process of over 2 years. How can I make this the most simple and efficient possible with the least amount of time from myself? How can I decommission myself from my business?
Yeah,
right from the start. So I never, because I had established that my professional value wasn't my personal value, it was super easy for me to be like, I don't really need to do that task. How can I make it not mine? How can I elevate other people, or what do other people need that doesn't really require much of me?
Sure.
So then when I got sick, I was like, okay, well, this is happening way earlier than expected. I actually stress test the system.
Wow.
And it taught me that I didn't need to be in it every day for it to work. I did a lot of groundwork, though, in seed planting, so to speak, the 3 months before.
Great.
And I actually just had to rest and sit back almost on doctor's orders and watching it grow when I wasn't doing anything was actually a blessing.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So it made me, in a way, not stressed for having a family and being a mum, because at the end of the day, it proved to me that the work that I put in the foundations proved to be strong enough.
Fantastic.
So that's like sickness, personal vomiting like 2 to 5 times a day at the worst of
Wow.
it. Yeah, I think for my birthday I was able to hold down a grilled burger. And had 2 visits to the bathroom. So.
Oh my goodness. Joys. Wow.
It is, yeah. I actually didn't realise how taxing it was. Shout out to all the mums out there.
Yeah, I agree.
Holy
Incredible.
moly. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
It was brutal.
Jeez.
I was having like cries every 4 to 5 days, like, what the heck is this? Why do people do this again and again?
Well, testament, because I mean your hormones are all over the show. You're trying to, still sort of run your business and do all the other things that, just being alive requires. So well done.
Yeah. Well, it made me really militant about who I made time for.
Yeah.
And my yeses and my nos became very, very clear, which I think is actually a super skill of mums.
Oh, right. Yeah,
I think
completely.
now I understand why they're very, very productive at work. Because at the end of the day, they got to get in, they've got to get out. They have limited emotional availability. They don't care for the crap at work.
No.
They just say, I'm capable of doing this job. I'm just here to get the job done.
Prioritise,
And they prioritise and I can understand it now because you're actually governed potentially by your energy.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, also how frequently I'm hungry. So if I had to do timesheets, I reckon 3 billable hours a day would be me preparing for the kitchen. The other challenges is, one of the other key challenges is probably giving up mat leave opportunities for working for a bigger company or a well-established company. I think I'm a bit brave in that sense by saying, okay, well, I've got the energy now. I don't have any dependents now. I better get this done.
Yes.
Build a business and an asset now because I'm capable. Had to learn that one.
Yeah.
I'm capable.
Yes.
So, yeah, then knowing that, you got a lot of my friends are, on 12 months mat leave or like 6 months mat leave.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'll get that. I've put in mat leave to the ultimate CEO God. I'm like, you got to sort this out because
make way
because I'm like, but yeah, that was tough. And then I think thirdly, explaining to people or still doing business development. And now that I'm showing, they're like, oh, okay. And building that trust with people, whether it's coaches coming on board or companies investing in the model. Because I think people assume that I'm the center of everything, maybe like the Hollywood movies where I'm on the grind, but I'm actually not. I've been smart enough to set things up well.
People just assume, isn't it funny? It's it happened to me the other day as well. I was doing a proposal meeting and so I stopped drinking. I saved all the money that I would normally spend on alcohol for a year and I had a ring made. And I had this person say to me, because I did the proposal, and what they said to me was, oh, is that why you can wear big jewelry like you do? And I was like, oh, well, just FYI, I stopped drinking. And, I went into explain mode why I don't know. But it's just that people just assume things instead of actually taking the time to actually have those conversations. But I guess that's, society sometimes. So.
And yeah, I had to really learn not to take offense to it.
Same. I struggled that day.
And it's like, oh, okay, well, from their perspective, what are they worried about? Probably continuity. Like if they invest their time and energy and efforts, am I not going to meet them?
Are you then going to, yeah, because baby's coming.
Because baby's coming, But, I mean, ultimately, people have more than one child as well. So can I not just see this business as a brainchild?
Yeah, and people are having kids for like ever. So.
Oh, but it takes a village. Like I know my parents are like dropping down to like 3 days a week-ish. And they've offered to help out. So family support's there.
Great.
Takes a village, I think.
It does.
Well. Yeah.
Definitely. Rach, I want to speak to your friend, I think it's Sita.
Yeah.
So one of the things we asked her is if you could tell the world one thing about Rachel that she'd never say about herself, but absolutely should, what would it be? So Sita said she genuinely wants to make a change for people starting their careers and provide a purpose for retired professionals. To her, Buteros is not her business, it's her life.
Wow.
Did you want to... any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a life calling, so to speak. That's very sweet of her.
Yeah, and I can tell when you even say that, like there's just, you know, with your energy and like you just see it's your absolute passion.
It is. Well, I think when you're so disorientated and jaded by an industry where you've spent a 4-year degree on and you come into it and be like, this is not what I was sold.
Totally.
Things don't make sense, and finally having that clarity, it's just given me that tunnel vision. So I can see where she's saying it, you know, it's my life, it's my life's vocation.
Yeah.
I kind of created a job position for myself with my unique skills and talents because I never felt like I fit in anywhere else.
Yeah. Actually, I was with the same. So one of the other things that we asked Sita is what is the most selfless thing Rachel has ever done for someone else that no one knows about? So what she responded is she's out there in 40 degrees heat while being pregnant without having too much lunch to make the services of her business known to others. She never tells others what a physical strain it is on her body, although with that drive, I doubt she even feels the burden on her body. And I think that just speaks to you.
Oh my gosh.
I think that just speaks to what you mentioned before, when you're so driven, and I know you mentioned, there is passion to some degree, because I think if you're not willing to, and Paul always says this, like passion is what you're willing to suffer for, and it seems like you just have that drive to just keep going.
I also have divine trust that it's going to work out and that I'll be able to solve problems as they come up. Another area I had to grow in. It's not like I always thought that way.
Yes.
But that's really hilarious because today is 38 degrees outside and I did catch public transport here.
Oh, that's right. The things you do for me. Thank you.
No, not at all. Oh, that's so sweet of her. Yeah, I am very, very driven by the big picture. It's very gripping for me because I can see the benefits, mainly for the fact that whilst I probably have been messaging the social value, there is extreme corporate value for the investing organisation, like insane amounts of corporate value, and helping business decision makers see that so that they can be change agents for the industry is so important to me. These people coming into the industry have already coming in with a HECS debt.
Yes.
I'd say given the market, they've got more of a negotiating power, whereas when I graduated, we were in a downturn in the industry, so you took what you got and you you did whatever it took to keep your job. Whereas now I think it's, well, you're employing me, you need to invest in me. There's a generational shift in perspective and value systems, and helping companies with their succession planning and their retention planning, technical outputs and deliverables for their end clients, particularly for the small to medium-sized businesses, is important to me, because ultimately at the end of the day, people are their business.
Yeah.
And if those people are under-supported, especially with psychosocial workplace hazards being a very good, finally being, a priority, you don't want people leaving.
Yeah.
And you don't want them to be under-supported, but we need to be realistic that hierarchy and org charts will have one senior to, 5 or 6, or maybe at best 2 to 3 juniors or reports. And that's a lot of, demand on senior positions.
Yes.
Which I feel like is unfair. Now that we know there's another solution.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess for our listeners, Rach, maybe in a nutshell, you want to explain what you guys do?
Yes, I can. So traditionally speaking, training would be the responsibility of the organisation that employs a junior. So we started off in the early career space. We've now realised the model will service anybody in the industry. So we're targeting the early to mid-career, so 0 to 15 years out of uni qualification. Could be TAFE as well. So what we do is we say, all right, well, how much are you spending, company, on internal training or sending your team away for off-site courses, including their pay, the salary, the lost time not doing productive work, and the course itself. And then we say, well, why don't you have an entity called Buteros and you chuck that on your resource sheet, And in that resource, you get access to our coaching panel. So it's not a one-to-one mentoring. It's a one-to-many coaching opportunity.
I see.
So one entity, one business, Buteros, 15 plus minds that you can leverage at any time to improve your quality of deliverable.
Yeah.
So that's the innovation of the model, the Buteros model.
Great.
So traditionally what would happen is that junior or that early career person, mid-career, would be buddied up with someone non-technical in their field, and they would do more career mentoring, like, hey, how you going in the business? But at the end of the day, that doesn't solve the fact that sometimes you just need help with getting your actual job done.
Yeah, totally.
The stress doesn't come from corporate bureaucracy as much as the fact that you're like, okay, I've got a deadline, I've got to get this job done. There's nobody here that I can ask. Everyone's too busy, or they ask me, especially in consultancy, there's not enough hours in the budget for me to help you.
Right.
Or is there enough hours in the budget for you to do this task? It kind of is a bit crappy.
Yeah.
Very long-winded way of saying our coaches help alleviate internal training pressures, and they provide exceptional quality industry, local specific knowledge to improve our companies and our clients that we work for. It solves so many problems that I can't even list. But the categories that it solves is in the technical excellence space, the operational space, so efficiencies, getting things done in a better way than what they're doing, reducing rework and things like that. Commercially, better utilization of staff, because it's on-the-job tutoring. So you literally bring to our coaches the problem that you're trying to solve. So you don't need to go off-site. You don't need to wait 3 months to go on an external training course to then figure out what percentage of that applies to my job. And culture, you feel supported. So there's 4 key pillars, which is there. And obviously we have supplementary services, which is workshops. So let's just say there's a common coaching theme we identify is needed to be addressed, and it might be better addressed in a workshop collaborative way. We'll do that.
Right.
And then if they don't have a learning and development department and HR's kind of being lumped with this learning and development, we support and consult in and create structures and strategies to help upskill their workforce as quick as possible. And we leverage our coaching panel, and it's multidisciplinary. We've got people ex-Woodside, ex-Shell, BHP, CSBP, really big companies, and also not very big companies as well.
So quite a mix.
Local government too. And so it's such a diverse panel. Technical people and project management people. So let's just give you a case study. One of the commercial legal risks from an I-profile risk report was that professional liability is considered high risk, 8 out of 10 for companies. Claims of malpractice, misconduct can cause significant risk exposure.
Yeah.
Okay, so in their mitigation measures, it reads, if an indemnity situation arises, claims can be towards the individual, the business, or between third parties as an extension of the industry's output.
Yeah.
It is costly to address professional liability. Precautionary measures, adequate staff training, and upskilling are important, especially when dealing directly with clientele.
Yeah.
So immediately I can show value in that. And let's just say one senior has 4 reports, 2 hours a week. That's 1 8-hour day in a week that goes directly to overheads and training.
Yes.
And then not to mention their lost time and lost productivity. So, yeah, that's a pretty comprehensive explanation.
Yeah, but I think
and tangent.
The other part of what you do is, you help retirees still, add to the workforce in some ways. Because I've seen some people in my life retire and it's almost like they're not quite sure what to do with themselves. And like you say, if you have planned to travel but you no longer can't, you can't, should I say, it can really leave you feeling quite lost. So I think what you're doing is, and I believe, you should always educate your mind and your mind should keep going, because I think if you stop that, you land up in a grave earlier than what you should. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's really great that you're still adding value to the retirees' life as well.
Yeah, this goes back to the win-win-win. So it's a great win for the juniors coming into the industry and reducing the stress of ambiguity.
Yes.
From a technical level, operational level, relational level, like what is it that I'm walking to in this industry?
Yeah.
For the retirees as well, which actually has a bad connotation. That word is not not branded very well.
No, sorry.
No, these people are young, very, very, I still think they're young, very fit and healthy and active.
And have a lot of energy.
Have a lot of energy, but not everyone had plans to take a caravan around Australia. We do have one coach that is doing that and is still able to coach as an option. But sometimes people want to self-actualize in that time. They want to say, okay, what have I done? What can I do, with all of this knowledge and wisdom that I have? Like, what was it all for? What were the blood, sweat and tears for and the overextended hours where I sacrificed family time for?
Yes.
And now they've got all of this time and all this knowledge, whereas juniors have a lot of time but not knowledge. So that's the social value.
And Rach, do you have a mentor?
All my coaches mentor me.
Oh, fantastic. So you actually have access to the 15 of them?
Yeah, we chat daily. I'll ask them a random question. I'll end up leaving with 17 other nuggets of gold. Yeah. So that's why I went on LinkedIn when they have those automated messages. Hey, we do B2B coaching. And I'm like, I've got enough coaches. Some of them have run their own companies before.
As well, so all that experience. And do you find you kind of have dedicated times during the week to have a chat with them, or is it kind of just as you go?
As I go, yeah. Usually if I have a question, I'll give them a call. And then because I have time available, they'll end up chatting with me for half an hour or an hour.
Oh, love that.
Which is what I like about accessing the retired population, because of their time availability.
True.
They're not stressed.
And do you find having a mentor yourself has had an impact on your life in some way?
Absolutely. Perspective.
Yes. Are you happy to share?
I am. Absolutely.
Yeah. In what way?
They are at a season of life where they can look back and be like, that's not important, that's important, don't worry about this, go travel, don't take your laptop. So when I have that insight, it changes my belief system, which then changes my behaviour.
True.
So went to Thailand and my husband was like, oh, if you want to, you can take your laptop. I'm like, nah. Not doing it. But do you know what? That was so good that I didn't do anything. I obviously had access to my phone.
Yes.
But seeing coaching sessions now run without my input and seamlessly work, I'm pretty sure there's one happening in an hour or so.
Great. And
it doesn't need me. Is so satisfying.
Yes.
Because your systems and everything that I've invested in works. And you can see the feedback. Oh, gosh, I got to say, the feedback that I'm getting from my coaches about how they're enjoying it just warms my heart.
Oh, fantastic.
They're like, it's like being grandparents to the industry. Or like, wow, I didn't realise how much I really knew. And so it's almost a boost to their self-esteem as well. For some other people, like, I'm just doing this because I either want to help me or help the industry. Everyone's motivated by something slightly different.
Yeah.
And then from a participant's perspective, so the person receiving the coaching, we've delivered over 32 hours now.
Great.
Of coaching, and we've only received about 12 responses of 30 sessions, I think, something of feedback, and we're still sitting at like a 4.5+ star rating.
Great.
Yeah. And the only times where we ranked low was because we didn't have a coach that met their needs. So it wasn't that the model didn't work, and the other one was a misunderstanding of scopes of work. So as a coach, obviously we don't do deliverables. That's why we're affordable.
I see.
And so we encourage and we facilitate and we equip others to be able to do it. So it was a misunderstanding of how we work, but that's what happens during a pilot. You learn a lot.
And do you feel like it's finally taken off now, Rach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know, like once you are pregnant, if everything just becomes hectic fertile. Because, I just feel like things escalated super quickly.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I invested the time in solid foundations and I didn't rush the process, and now it's just bearing the fruits of what it is. But yeah, I do think people are understanding what it is that I'm trying to achieve.
Great.
Also through conversations with people like yourself, refining how I'm communicating, asking other people how they would describe my business as well.
Good.
Super helpful.
It gives you a different perspective, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
And Rach, I'd love to know, what does success mean to you, not just in business, but in life and in faith? In the whole holistic approach, what does success look like to you?
I'm going to give this one the due thought it deserves.
Of course, yeah, go for it.
I believe success for me is living life in accordance to my priorities and being really satisfied with everything.
Yeah.
Living within my means is a form of success. Like, I don't think success is driven by a financial figure. I think it's driven by the sense of peace within myself, my relationships with other people, and kind of goes to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs a bit, like, you know, food, water, shelter, relationships, and all of that stuff. And yeah, I feel like there's so much more to unpack, and I'll think about all of this stuff after we catch up in a few weeks' time or something.
Yeah. Do you feel like, I think you and I are both very driven, do you feel we are ever, maybe satisfied is not the right word, but do you know, when you reach a goal and you get there, do you find you kind of want more? Do you believe when you are so driven you can kind of have that peace and kind of be, I don't want to say settled. Do you know what I mean?
I reckon there's two parts to that though. So the first part for me is being settled within yourself.
Yeah.
And then there's constantly innovating your business.
Yes.
So I'm never satisfied with the business side of things because I'm always wired to look for improvements and how to make myself not needed.
Yeah.
But I've also got a time pressure for that. So
yeah, of course.
But within myself, like, I don't feel unsettled in that way. I used to feel very, very unsettled when I wasn't really too sure of my direction.
Okay.
But like when I had that pin drop moment and things started to make sense about what my vocation was and where I could best utilise my God-given gifts and talents, that's when things started to settle in as well. But I needed the 5 or 6 now, I think it's 10 and a bit years of experience in the industry to make it what it is today. I don't regret those experiences, but yeah.
And Rach, if you could go back 10 years ago, what would be one bit of advice you would give your younger self?
Oh, too many.
Just
one?
No, you can do 2 if you like, or 3, it's up to you.
No, I'll just do one. I think it would be around probably people pleasing. And that would be in all facets, like personal and professional. It would be, you don't need other people's validation to know who you are. Yeah. And it would be, look to how God sees you for your inherent value.
Love that.
That cost me too many years.
Oh, you mean both.
Like way too many years.
Yes. Was there another one you wanted to share?
No, that was it. I think I'm just going to keep it to that, otherwise we'll get on the tangent.
No, it's great. I love it. And it's very powerful what you said. I think it's somehow connected when you feel like settled within yourself, because I've experienced this. I had a very big personal growth journey the last 2 years. When you feel more settled within yourself, you almost don't want to people please anymore, and you become very clear on your boundaries and where to spend your time, and you know what serves you and serves others, and you kind of just don't mess around anymore. So I can relate to what you shared.
Something that I had a conversation with someone yesterday was femininity in the business world. Yes. Super interesting conversation.
I can imagine.
Business world, I think, is quite masculine.
Definitely. It is.
But I don't exactly know what defines masculinity, but we kind of intuitively know what it is. Like I can't be how I am at home in the business or the workplace.
Yeah. It's because I think you have to have, well, gosh, now I'm going to have a powerful pause. I know what you mean. It's because you have to, I think because we constantly have to show up, be on display the whole time. You know, we've got a passion, or as the core service that we offer, and you're constantly, I guess, trying to add value to other people's lives. It becomes almost like a bit of you have to have that presence, right, I think, when you're out there, because if you kind of just hand back in the corner, well, you're going to be overlooked. So I don't know if that's quite the right way. But then
is femininity holding back and passive? Like, I don't think it is. No. And this is going to go into a whole different discussion, but the essence of the conversation was, Sita, I'm going to start here. When she chats with me and in a way she does mentor me, she was like, I want to make you a fierce feline.
Yeah.
Like a feminine feline. I reckon I butchered that pregnancy brain. But it was saying that you can still be in business, but you don't have to sacrifice your femininity and figuring out what that looks like. The notes that I took from my conversation yesterday was interesting. People want a decision maker, someone who's not a people pleaser. Yeah. And someone who can say no. But if women are not encouraged to be grounded in their inherent value, or they're constantly wired to look for other people's validation, being a female in that sense in the business world is super difficult. But nowadays, because I've set my big, hairy, audacious goals, I know where I'm going. Yes. My yeses and nos are so easy now. Takes practice, because in the back of my mind I'm like, oh, is there going to be a negative feedback loop? Are they going to like me? And then you have to go through the same thing. It's like, nope, you know where you're going, you know where you're heading. Like, people will come with you or they won't.
Completely. One I often get asked is when you go to a networking event, then naturally, I'm generalised now, but quite a few people assume that you work for someone. And then it's like, so who do you work for? And they're like, no, it's my own business. Oh, I thought you work for someone. I'm just like, I don't know.
I've found that. Or they think you're a sole trader and you sell your own time.
Yes.
And you're not building a company or being very strategic.
Completely. Yes. Or you're just a graphic designer that's charging, $40 an hour and you're trying to, It's very interesting. Again, it's not everyone.
We just need to get shirts that say visionary.
Yeah. What did you say? Visionary, alpha female.
Don't mess with me.
Yeah. I mean, business. Rach, where is the best place for our listeners to go should they wish to connect with you?
It would be through the website, which is currently getting upgraded.
Yes,
but
exciting.
There is a discovery call feature and the business mobile number, which you can chat with me on as well. Or email connect@buteros.com.
Perfect. Well, Rach, thank you so much for your time today. I love our chats as always. And you're like a human Pocahontas. You're stunning. And I just absolutely love what you're doing, your passion, your drive. It's very inspiring. And thank you so much for all that you've shared today.
Thanks for your time today. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.